This is my Nieuport 28. The Nieuport 28 is it's a replica of a 1918 World War I fighter. The history of the airplane is short with the U.S. When the United States went into World War I, we had no airplanes to bring with us. So when we went to France and arrived, we asked the French, kind of with hat in hand, what can you give us to equip our Air Force? The French chose to pick the SPAD for their Air Force, and they gave us potentially the inferior Nieuport to start our Air Force out. And then we switched to the SPAD later. So this is about a 4 to 5 month period of World War I where we actually flew the Nieuport 28. This airplane is actually fairly historically significant. A lot of people don't know this, but Quentin Roosevelt was the son of Theodore Roosevelt, the president. And Theodore thought it was important that everyone participate in the war effort, and so he allowed his son to go over and be a pilot in the 95th. Unfortunately, Quentin didn't make it through the war. He was killed in July of 1918, but this airplane commemorates his service and his sacrifice during World War I. You'll notice the number 14 on the side of the airplane. That was Quentin's number. And the cowling identification, the blue and white stripes, that's also identified Quentin Roosevelt in B flights of the 95th Aero Squadron. I was in the Air Force for 29 years, and I actually flew in the unit that has the history link back to this airplane. I actually flew in the 95th in the 90s out of an airbase in England. This is an Aerodrome Airplanes kit, and I built it pretty much per the plans. It's a full-scale replica. It's 1-to-1, so this is exactly the size of the Nieuport. My advice to myself was, it's an elephant, and you have to eat the elephant. Just do it one bite at a time. And so I built the fuselage, built the landing gear, and as I outgrew my garage, I realized that I needed a bigger space. My chapter at Manassas was 186, and they offered me their builder hangar, and I actually mostly finished the project there after about 4 years at Manassas, Virginia. I retired from the Air Force, and I moved to Omaha, Nebraska, and I did the last part of the build there in Omaha, which included final assembly, mounting the engine, and fabric covering. And after about 8 years of building, I had my finished project there in Omaha. A lot of people ask me about the airplane is that, how is it compared to the original? The first thing that would jump out would be the engine. The original airplane had a gnome rotary, high technology at its time. Limitations today are there, so I decided to go reliable with a Lycoming engine that has a Lycoming 0290 on it. The second big difference would be the airfoil. The French back in 1918 thought they had a plan with the airfoil. It wasn't quite right, so I went with a more safer, modern airfoil like you'd find on a Piper Cub airplane. And the last thing would be the construction materials. Back in 1918, it was mostly wood. This airplane is made out of aviation spec aluminum. Even though it doesn't look like it is, but underneath the fabric, it's a metal structure, modern, lightweight, very strong. It's nostalgic. I think the exposure you have to the elements in the air really lends to the courage of the pilots at the time to actually go out and go into air combat. Facing a .30 caliber machine gun with fabric around you and fuel is a pretty courageous thing to do. It's a thrill to be here. I love the attention it gets. I love just showing it off and the history of the airplane and talking about that. So yeah, I really enjoyed my time here at Oshkosh.